Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? I hope you're all doing very, very well. And if you're a lover of horror movies, a lover of gothic horror movies, a lover of Hammer gothic horror movies, it's a good day. Yes, some great news has arrived in the last 24 hours or so. That Hammer, yes, Hammer films, Hammer horror movies from the 50s, 60s, 70s, then the TV show that limped into the 80s and then died all over again, has been reinvigorated, resurrected. The stake has been taken out from the heart, blood has dripped into the mummified remains of what was Hammer, and it's now rising again. Now, Hammer horror. Of course, we know them. Peter Cushing, Christopher Lee, The Mummy, The Werewolf, Dracula, Frankenstein. So many movies, the Quatermass movies. And throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, they were a huge force to be reckoned with. They changed the shape of the horror genre completely, with heaving bosooms and lots of Kensington gore and some clumsy day for night shooting. But class on a low budget, great movies done on the quick with a great family cast of characters and actors, and behind the scenes, behind the camera, cast and crew were all gelled and they all worked supremely well to produce a product which we now totally revere and consider legendary and indomitable. Yeah, but they died in the 70s because the likes of The Omen came out and The Exorcist came out. Big budget horror. Hammer couldn't quite compete with that. But we can still do sleaze and gore. Oh no, Night of the Living Dead and Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out. And oh no, you're pushing boundaries which even we can't go beyond. Oh darn it. So Hammer did die a death, sadly. That coffin was nailed down. The TV show, Hammer House of Horror, was brilliant. It was a last sort of stab. Roy Skeggs producing, and I loved it. You guys loved it. And then they that was it, they were gone. But they came back in the 2000s with Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter actually faced some real demons in their luscious, lavish, very gothic and period set The Woman in Black, a remake of course, but it was brilliant. And suddenly, oh god, Hammer have produced this. Hammer have come back. Hammer, well, what a great movie that is. We all knew it, loved it, revered it. And then they came up with things like The Resident, Wakewood, what's it called? The Rave from the Grave? Something like that. Which was shit. Let's be honest, they were shit. And then a bunch of other movies came out which they were part of. They kind of almost distributed and co-produced. Things like The Quiet Ones. And what else was there? The sequel to The Woman in Black. Oh dear. But they weren't particularly great films. And suddenly Hammer went, it slid off the map yet again. And then only a few weeks ago, which I have hotly debated with a lot of my close friends and that, who are all Hammer aficionados, that Hammer went into bankruptcy. Hammer as a company went into bankruptcy about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe a bit longer than that. And it was like, that's it, that's the final nail in the coffin. And they're doomed. But then the news came out about a week or so after that bombshell dropped, that no, it's only one part of Hammer that's gone. Because Hammer as a company is a big umbrella for lots of different subsidiary companies. And just one wing of it, that's gone into liquidation. It's gone, it's bankrupt, it's over. And yesterday, or overnight, the news broke that Hammer, the filmmaking side of it, the innovative, creative, energetic side that we know and love and want to see back again in today's world of mass generic bullshit movies, jump scares, and just uber woke. We want something like the old school. Well, that company has now got a shot in the arm, courtesy of John Ellis Gore. Yes, that's his name, John Ellis Gore. And he is a British theatre producer, Tony Award winning, Emmy Award winning, and Olivier Award winning. He has bought the creative filmmaking side of Hammer, and he is now the sole director of that wing. And yep, we're making movies. They've already got one on the way. They've got another adaptation of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it stars Eddie Izzard, which I think is a great idea, because Eddie Izzard is, well, he has other names, and he always did cross-dressing, and now I do believe, could be wrong about this, but he is in the throes of becoming a woman, or is he a woman now? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. He's a great stand-up comedian, and the thing about Eddie Izzard is that you can call him Eddie, or you can call him by the other name that he likes to be known as, the female name, which I have, of course, forgotten. But if he's starring in, and it's been made, the film's been made, it was shown at Fright Fest, but it didn't have a distributor. But now, because of this deal, this film is now good. It's going to come out properly, theatrically, under the Hammer title, under the Hammer banner. Hammer banner, you say? This arrived just before doing this video. Look at that. Beautiful. The Hammer logo. The modern Hammer logo. And this came courtesy of our great friend, trusted, loyal, confidant of mine, and a great super channel contributor, Steve 007 Smith. 007 because he loves James Bond, loves movies all over, but he loves Hammer movies as well. And he has informed me that there is something else Hammer related on the way. Oh, see, the storm clouds have parted, the sun is coming out, and suddenly there's hope and optimism. It seems the stars are aligned, and all of a sudden Hammer is back on the map. Put that there. Let's put that there, and then reach for this from down there. And then have a glug and put it down here somewhere. Cheers, y'all. And cheers, Hammer. Regular viewers of the channel know that I'm a massive devotee of Hammer movies. And the Universal movies, of course. And Hammer took over the ropes from Universal. They went into the monster mashes. And the way that studios were, that they will run something into the ground. Universal did that without a doubt. They're beautifully, cozily creaky old horrors of Frankenstein and Dracula and the Wolfman, of course, and then the Mummy and the mashups. They all met each other and caused chaos. And then kind of like, well, that was it. And then obviously the tide of the genre changed. Hammer went through the same sort of thing. Hammer took Universal and then injected colour, boobs and blood, and were more explicit. But Hammer really pushed boundaries, and wearing the t-shirts with the poster, you don't even see that. It's very faded on this, which I kind of like in a strange sort of way. It's kind of jaded. It's Vampire Circus, a film which even the most ardent and devoted Hammer fans kind of go, I'm not bothered with that. Vampire Circus really pushes taboos and breaks a lot of stuff, and it's fantastic. I will give it its day in court, the day in the tartan court with Kilt-Man as the judge and executioner. But I'll give it away now. I'm a massive fan of Vampire Circus, and I will cover it properly, Because with this great news that Hammer's now been like, whoa, we're coming back, you can expect a damn sight more Hammer stuff. And I had just done a fair bit of Hammer stuff as well on the channel, as it turns out. So maybe it was in the blood, as it were. But yeah, John Ellis Gore has bought the creative side of Hammer. Now, it's been reported in Variety and Bloody Disgusting. That's one of the best ever names for a site for fans of horror movies. Bloody Disgusting. It gives it even a British slant to it. It's bloody disgusting is what it is. And I'm going to read to you now the Variety thing, right? And I'm playing a hodgepodge slew of Hammer scores. Dracula Studio, Hammer Films acquired by renowned British theatre mogul John Gore. And right, iconic British horror label Hammer Films and Studios has been acquired by renowned British theatre producer John Gore. I just said that, didn't I? Gore, a 20-time Tony, Emmy and Olivier winning entertainment producer, is known for his live theatre company, the John Gore Organisation, which owns Broadway.com and Broadway across America. A leading presenter, distributor and marketer of Broadway theatre worldwide. The company was one of the producers of 3 of 2022's big Tony winners: A Strange Loop, Best Musical; The Layman Trilogy, Best Play; and Company, Best Revival. But won awards, got accolades, got him kudos, and gathered steam. Gore is listed in Variety 500, an index of 500 most influential business leaders shaping the global media industry. Right. Gore will lead a new team as chair and CEO of the new conglomerate Hammer Company. Founded in 1934, Hammer Films is synonymous with horror after defining the genre in Britain with classics such as Drag blah 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 blah. We know all this. In 2021, the UK's network distributing network died. Network Distributing signed a deal with Hammer Films to form Hammer Studios Limited. After the death of managing director Tim Beddoes in 2022, Network was liquidated, which caused a lot of titles to be dropped from properties, and you can't get certain movies now which Network have put out, and TV shows. They may be picked up by some other companies and will be at some point, but a lot of Network TV stuff, you know, it's kind of gone now at the moment. But that was a bad one now. Under Gore's management, the plan is to invest significantly in Hammer Films to breathe new life into the studio, blending the nostalgic charm of Hammer with modern cinematic style and innovation. In brackets, not woke. No, that's me adding that there. While preserving its heritage and library, a new slate of films and projects will be unveiled imminently. Well, we know about the Dr. Jekyll project, which it's made. The film's made. The first film of the new incarnation of the studio to be released is Be Good Picture Company's Dr. Jekyll, starring Eddie Izzard and Scott Chambers, and directed by Joe Stevenson. It is due for a theatrical release later this year being 2023. Gore said, "Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball." No, sorry, I won't go into that. "Ever since I was a young boy, I've been enchanted by the magic of Hammer Films. Its stories, its characters, and its unique place in British heritage and cinema have been a source of inspiration and wonder. Today, as I stand at the helm of this iconic studio, my commitment is twofold: to celebrate and preserve the unmatched legacy of Hammer, and to usher in a new era of storytelling that captivates audiences worldwide. With significant investment and a fresh creative vision, we will ensure that the spirit of Hammer not only endures but thrives in the modern age." I like what he's saying there. Well, and you guys will as well. He's grown up with it, he's loved it, as we all have, and he's seen the fabulous fantasy and salacious imagination that's gone into the Hammer movies, which pushed, again, as I say, boundaries all the time. And now, in this day and age, there are no boundaries. You can do whatever you want. But, so, it's like, I want to bring that nostalgia back, and I want to, embrace what came before and make it so I'm reading between the lines so that we still have us who grew up with Hammer and love Hammer. We're going to bring that style back, hopefully on a lower budget, keep the budget down and make them pretty quickly and churn them out, because that's what Hammer did. Hammer was a champion for this. They would do films back to back, and that's what you want. Just fucking hit the market. Hit cinemas with movie. Keep the industry churning over. Keep an in-house, family of behind the camera and the cast as well. Keep them, because that's the spirit of Hammer. Have returning, people, because we'd love that. Playing different characters in different movies, and swap things around, but push the gore and maybe the titillation. Don't go too hard with it, because that would be a lot of diminishing returns, I think. But anyway, so let's read it again. My commitment is twofold: to celebrate and preserve the unmatched legacy of Hammer, which I've just reiterated what we want, and to usher in a new era of storytelling that captivates audiences worldwide. Well, this is where we're all going to go, ooh, no. Is he going to remake all the originals and make them modern day and make them all woke as woke can be? Did a film called, what's it called? Wokewood, in fact. And let's hope not. Let's hope they don't do that, because that will be the death knell. The death knell of Disney is their reworking, reimagining, and wokerizing of all their original properties for the modern minority audience, and it's coming back to bite them on the ass massively. Hammer, John Gore, don't make that mistake. Tell your stories, even remake. And regular viewers know I'm not the hugest fan of remakes, and yet we've had some enormously good remakes of movies. I'm not going to say The Thing. The Thing, my favourite film of all time, is not a remake. It's a proper adaptation of John W. Campbell's original novella. Who goes there? The 1951 Christian Nyby Howard Hawks movie, The Thing from Another World, is an adaptation of that novella. The Thing is not a remake of the Christian Nyby Howard Hawks version. It's an adaptation of that. But all the Hammer Gothic horrors were reworkings of Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker, and and older Universal movies as well. And they went off into franchises, and spawned sequel after sequel after sequel. Again, diminishing returns, because the Dracula movies especially really didn't. Each one that came out, there were some high points, but some really bad low points. I would always say that the Frankenstein franchise, was more consistent and more creative than the Dracula movies. And I love the Dracula movies, do not get me wrong, but the Frankenstein movies were much, much better. The Odd Misstep, Horror of Frankenstein with Ralph Bates, got to be one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life. Dave Prowse in a nappy as a Frankenstein monster. It's god awful. But most of the Frankenstein movies I've got a lot of time for, because he did do something different, something slightly altered, and again, they got more sort of brave and, I don't know, bizarre. Cheers, y'all. So what he's saying, you're going to preserve that. Now, the company is, and I've got the companies are for Hammer right now. I've got this. John Ellis Gore is now the sole director, and this was from the 22nd of August this year, 2023, of Hammer Films and Productions Holdings Limited, right? And it was the Holdings Productions Limited which was okay. They didn't get bankrupted. It was they were fine, and that was the creative side, the movie making side, which is why you could get hold of this and acquire this and save it, right? So he's the sole director of that, John Ellis Gore. You've got Nicholas John Pike, who's also been brought in. I don't know his background, but he's the director of Hammer Films Legacy Limited. These are the subsidiary companies of the Hammer umbrella. And this is a good thing, you know, that you've got lots of little individuals under one huge, you know, sort of, you know, brackets, you know, which keep them together, hopefully. He's director of Hammer Films Legacy Limited, Hammer Film Holding Limited, and Hammer Film Holdings Limited 2. So there's not one Holdings Limited, but 2 of them. So if one fucks up, you've got one in reserve. Weird that, isn't it? Now, they've already done this Dr. Jekyll thing with Eddie Izzard, and they have got a distributor for that. Well, apparently after the Fright Fest and with this news. So that film will be coming out. And I said before, Hammer did a fabulous reworking of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Robert Louis Stevenson, great gothic, paranoid, split personality, bipolar, horror, sci-fi story. With Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, with Ralph Bates, who was in the monumental fuck-up that was Horror of Frankenstein. But he was also in this, and he's brilliant. And Marty, he takes his potion, but he doesn't transform into Mr. Hyde. He becomes the lusciously gorgeous Sister Hyde, the female version of himself, played by the great Martine Beswick, who was in several Hammer movies, and also in the Bond franchise, which is From Russia with Love, in the Gypsy Fight. And it's I think I've reviewed it on the channel. I think I've reviewed it on the channel properly, fully in depth. I'm sure I have. And it's a great, innovative, creative sort of movie. And that's what you want to see. Now, I said before about I'm not a big fan of remakes, but there have been some great remakes. Sorry, I'm bringing myself back onto track here, but you know what I'm like. I go off on tangents. And this doesn't help, does it? But the greatest remakes of all time, or again, reinterpretations, you could always say, because you know what I'm going to say here. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 Philip Kaufman version. Don Siegel did the original 1950s, was it 50s or 60s? 50s, wasn't it? Version. But it's based on Jack Finney's original novel, which I've got, and it's fantastic. But that, again, you could always argue that it's not a remake of the original, it's actually another interpretation of the original novel. So it's hard to gauge it, but you know, people always go, oh, the best remakes are, and they always say The Thing. We discussed that. But now, Invasion of the Body Snatchers really isn't such a remake, it's just another interpretation. But it's a fucking great movie, anyway. The Blob with Steve McQueen in the 60s was shit. It's shit, you know. It's awful, let's be honest. It's a great idea, but it's a crap movie. But the remake was actually really damn good, and with Kevin Dillon and all that, and a couple of familiar faces. One guy from The Walking Dead, and many other movies. But the effects, because they can now do the effects, and they can tell the story and give a different sort of spin on it. You brought in the scientific brigade and the military came in, and it worked. It was pop generic stuff at the time, but it's actually a good reworking of what was a really great idea, but sort of kind of naffly handled. Let's have a blob. That's all we're going to do. Have a blob. Have it in the cinema and have people running from this big gelatinous mob blob thing with Steve McQueen in there. And yeah, it's crap. But the remake is actually really, really good. And there's other examples, of course. So what I'm saying is, like, the legacy, the library, the heritage that John Gore has now inherited is superlative. All of those movies, which again, some of them are interpretations of Mary Shelley and Bram Stoker, but many are also takes on what Universal did, because Universal became a distributor for Hammer movies for a while. So, and they gave the rights to Hammer to make whatever the hell they wanted. You could do whatever you want, you know, from our movies, after they proved the success with Curse of Frankenstein and Horror of Dracula. So you've got all that huge back catalogue of amazing movies which can be updated, can be done again in the gothic flavour with better effects, and just really go to town on them. Don't make them too elaborate. This is the mistake that people who are gonna... You can imagine that, like The Wolfman, Joe Johnston did a remake of The Wolfman in 2010. I love that movie, and I love the original Wolfman and all of Wolfman movies. You know me, werewolves rule, you know. And Hammer, you can redo Curse the Werewolf and do more werewolf movies, for God's sake. But Joe Johnston remade The Wolfman, but he massively tried to elaborate on the backstory and made it stupid. It's a great, good, fun movie. It's popcorn horror entertainment with great grisly effects. It's gory, and the werewolf, apart from the CGI transformation, Rick Baker's makeup for that werewolf is amazing. Benicio del Toro, it looks sensational. I love it, and I do love the film. Even Anthony Hopkins is genuinely terrifying as the paternal werewolf, the patriarchal lycanthrope. But that's the worst fucking idea ever. That, oh God, the dad's actually a werewolf as well. You can see what they were thinking. Let's subvert this. He's not going to be the guy that has to kill his own son because, oh, he's heartbroken to do so. But he's got to save his soul and save everybody else in the little quaint Welsh town on the back lot of Universal Studios, of course. Cheers, y'all. But they threw too many things into the mix, and that's the problem in modern movies now. We've got to give backstories, we've got to explain why people are nasty, we've got to give them a psychosis, a tragedy, something that's haunted them. We've got to give a reason why they act the way they do. We've got to give a background to Dracula, a background to the Mummy, a background to fucking whatever. No, you don't have to do that. Hammer, back in the heyday, didn't do that. You'd have like literally 3 or 4 minutes of introduction, and then you're into the whole bloody thing. Literally bloody thing. I really hope, John Gore, if you're ever going to see this video, please, just take the ethos of James Michael and then James Carreras, and run with that. Just churn the movies out with great production values, great cast, keep the running time down. You haven't got to be a fucking 2 half-hour and a 3-hour epic bloody movie. And don't make a movie where, like, oh, we're going to do this one and it's going to be the start of a franchise, we're going to do a trilogy. Don't do that. Make your movies like this Dr. Jekyll one, make that, see what happens with it. Let it be a success, let it garner more. Don't come out like, oh, this is going to be a trilogy. The Blumhouse doctrine. Oh, we're going to make this, it's going to be fucking awesome. And then we're going to make, it's a trilogy. They screwed up with the Halloween trilogy. They made Halloween 2018. And, big success. Terrible movie, big success. And then suddenly, we're going to do more of this. But we've got no idea where we're going to go. We've got no idea what the next 2 films are going to be. But they stupidly said, it's going to be a trilogy. And then they shot themselves massively in the foot. Halloween Kills was wretched, god-awful. Halloween Ends... Well, I've talked at length about those movies. I won't go any further into it. But my point is, Hammer, please. John Gore, don't screw this up. Make your individual movies, whether they're new properties, they're entirely newly written movies, entirely, completely new concepts, or they are remakes of the original classics, which can be redone. You could do all of those, and I'm not a fan of remakes, but I can imagine, if done properly, pretty much all the original Hammer movies, the classics, can be remade if you just keep that style with modern actors, great new, fresh, up-and-coming effects, but again, keep them condensed. You could put out much more product, and they could become modern classics. Again, retellings. Hammer only retold old stories, so you can't say like, oh god, well, remake those. Hammer remade things from the past anyway, so it can work. Hammer has the ability to resuscitate and resurrect itself time and time again, just with better effects, a more up and coming cast. And please don't make it woke. Don't make it woke. Don't do it. I regular viewers know how much I hate using that phrase, but sadly I've got to, because so many things that come out are tarnished and ruined by this softy, left field, minority, liberal, massively, hugely lefty, liberal, softy arse side of the world, which seems to have so much power to command not only politics and laws and societal mores, but also Hollywood, and just they stamp this thing into movies now where you don't even need it. Who are you appealing to? Just Disney, a small minority, but alienating all the rest of your major people that are going to spend money on your product. You piss them off to appease a small but very vocal and very volatile group. Hammer, learn from that. It's not worked for Disney, it won't work for you. It won't work for you. Something like that anyway. So what else have we got here? There are some films announced, which were announced a while ago. Now hopefully these will come to fruition. Okay, we've got The Abominable Snowman. Now Val Guest directed that originally in 1957, I think it was, black and white, and it was Peter Cushing was in there, and it was a Nigel Neal script from his original story, The Creature, and it's fantastic. And the Yetis are not nasty. Oh, big spoiler, but they are majestic creatures with huge benevolence and intelligence, but it's humans that are trying to capture them, destroy them. Big American Forrest Tucker, who's the biggest, the big game hunter sort of thing, like, and Peter Cushing as the professor, who's fantastic. And it's a wonderful movie. You don't see the Yetis at all, really. It's very suggestive, but it's very atmospheric and genuinely frightening and wonderfully just evocative. Well, they've got a version. This is slated, The Abominable Snowman. You've got one called The Daylight Gate, which is, from what I can gather, is meant to be a telling of the Pendle Witches, Pendle Hill, and well, it's not far from me where I'm sitting right now. If you go that way, oh, you've got to cross the Mersey first. You've got to go over the River Mersey and then go on to Liverpool and then go up, and slightly to the right, and you'll find Cumbria and you'll find Pendle Hill. And the witches, America, it's witch hunts, but the UK, Britain, England had its witch hunts a lot earlier, and they went on and on and on. And the witches of Pendle Hill were massively persecuted and horribly destroyed as well. So The Daylight Gate is a sort of a story about the Pendle Witches. I don't know if it's set during the Gothic time or whether it's like it's a curse that's gone on. I don't know. You've got Gaslight as well. Oh, is it Gaslit? It's Gaslight or Gaslit. Again, I can't trust my own handwriting. And what this is a Victorian horror whodunit. It's a Jack the Ripper hunt. Oh, now I am all over this. Love the whole Ripperology theme. I've got so many books on Jack the Ripper, and so many modern books where these armchair detectives have gone through forensics and come up with their own ideas as to who the real killer is. There's one coming out right now on Chaim, what's his name? Chaim Himes or something like that. I've never heard of this guy before, but this female writer, this detective, has come up with the this is Jack the Ripper. The thing about Jack the Ripper is you're never gonna know. All the things in a time capsule and Scotland Yard's hidden documentation, when it's all revealed, and it's all been revealed, it just comes up with the same friggin' names, the same, Kaminsky and all the usual suspects are there, and there's no real incriminating evidence. For me personally, I think the guy I don't believe he killed all the 5 victims that Jack the Ripper is meant to have killed. And Mary Kelly, her killing is absolutely not in cahoots with all the other killings attributed to Jack the Ripper or Saucy Jack. But after that, the glut of that particular horrific murder, which is photographed, of course, we've seen the images of that, the killing stopped. And the killings took place in New York, and then, I've got to get this wrong now, and Chicago, and maybe New Orleans, of a very similar type. And Scotland Yard sent detectives over to New York and around America pursuing a particular person. They'd never caught him, but the killings along the same sort of mutilation lines, all women, all streetwalkers, and it was horrific beyond belief. But the thread carried on, but in the New World, in America. And then it all petered out because obviously funds collapsed and Scotland Yard were brought back. And so whoever that guy was, I've forgotten now. I do know all these names. I've read this a million times, but I adhere more to that. Why did the killing suddenly stop? They didn't catch him. He bugged out. He went away. He resumed his activities just across the Atlantic. So, but Gaslight or Gaslit is Hammer's. Well, they're intending to do this, and it's meant to be a Hannibal Lecter style thing. So you're going to have a detective, a Scotland Yard detective, whether it's Frederick Aberline or one of the many others. They always use Aberline in movies. I mean, didn't even Johnny Depp play Inspector Aberline? And Robbie Coltrane was his good sergeant. He even had oh god, not Sean Connery. Michael Caine played Frederick Aberline in the great TV miniseries, which was wonderful, with several different endings where you had different killers and you had to work out who the killer was going to be and which one. It was brilliant idea. It was on the centenary of the Jack the Ripper killings as well. But this version, you've got a Hannibal Lecter style killer, a serial killer, who's obviously incarcerated, but he's going to have to work with a detective to try and, profile this Jack the Ripper and track him down, hunt him down. I think it sounds great. I think it sounds absolutely wonderful. And of course, Hammer has done Jack the Ripper things before, with obviously The Hands of the Ripper, with Angharad Rees, which is a wonderful movie, by the way, wonderful movie, with a whispering gallery in St. Paul's Cathedral, which is fantastic stuff. She's the daughter of Jack the Ripper. I don't know if I may have reviewed it on the channel, I don't know, I may have done, but it's a fantastic movie. And of course, even Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, the killings are kind of like Jack the Ripper style killings, and you're like, well it is bringing that into the whole idea, the whole spectrum. So Hammer, the new Hammer, I've got a lot of work to do, and they've got so much to pull back on. To look at all this seedbed of what we got to work with here. We can remake these. People aren't going to want like, oh god, another Frankenstein, creating the monster. Don't want to see that again. Well, remake one of the sequels, Frankenstein, the Monster from Hell. For God's sake, do another Captain Kronos adventure. This was meant to be a franchise. This, of all things, was one of the most obvious of franchises ever. Brian Clemens from the Avengers wrote and directed this, and it's one of my favourite Hammer movies. Some don't like it. It's when, in the 70s, when Hammer broke into new ground. They got gorier, but they also like shifted things. This is kind of comedic, but there's an element of the vampires don't suck blood. They drain the life force out of people. Life Force, Toby Hooper, mid-80s, great movie. Very much in a big, bold, bigger budgeted Hammer vogue. Lots of nudity, lots of effects and gore, but hokey as hell. Pure Hammer. That, because Kronos in Greek means time, and the idea always was that we'd have more adventures with Captain Kronos throughout time, different ages, battling not just vampires, which he does in this, or energy-sucking vampires, but werewolves and ghouls and witches and all sorts of monsters, all sorts of things. Like that was the idea. Well, there's a great one to expand and rework. Oh my God, John Gore. Listen, I am an award-winning author. I genuinely am. I'm not making it up. I genuinely am. Twisted Tales Volumes 1 and 2, and I won a big award, the Shell Research Prize for Literature, 1998, or was it 1999? I can't remember. So many years ago, and so many bottles have flowed down my neck since then. And I'm a massive die-hard lover of all these movies. For God's sake, John, bring me on board. I can work wonders for you. So let's see what else it says here. We've had what John himself said, and that indeed is all of the news. There is no other quote. Ever since I was a young boy, I've been enchanted by the magic of Hammer films. Its stories, its characters, and its unique place in British heritage and cinema have been a source of inspiration and wonder. Now, this is the guy that works in theatre, so I can believe that theatre sort of drive and etiquette of an an ensemble of recurring actors and the same people that you trust behind the scenes. And if he brings that to the movies, that is the Hammer ethos. That's exactly what James and Michael Carreras and Terence Fisher did, with the Hammer movies. Today, as I stand at the helm of this iconic studio, my commitment is twofold: to celebrate and preserve the unmatched legacy of Hammer, and to usher in a new era of storytelling that captivates audiences worldwide. I'm hoping as well, from that twofold thing, that means like 4K releases of all the original movies, and action figures, and lots of merch, because we love our merch, do we not? With significant investment and a fresh creative vision, we will ensure that the spirit of Hammer not only endures but thrives in the modern age. See, this is the bit where he's got to say this: the spirit of Hammer. So, it brings us all on board, but not only endures but thrives in the modern age. And that's how we go, ooh. Well, what else is he going to say? He can't not say that, can he? He's got to bring this old product, this old IP into a whole new age and bring in new fans. And of course, bringing in new fans means they'll embrace, hopefully, the older movies as well. So I've actually got a really damn good feeling about this, and I don't say that very often, but I've actually got a really good feeling. We had this back with The Woman in Black, and then the subsequent movies were shit. Well, they were, and you could just felt like, oh God, we don't really care about these anymore. We're just trying to keep Hammer alive, get the name somewhere in there, in the credits somewhere. But we know now that Dr. Jekyll is going to be, as I said before, and I quoted it, it's going to be a Hammer title. It's going to be, right, it will definitely be under the Hammer banner. So, and if that comes out and is successful, that only paves the way. But with John Gore at the helm, God, let's hope. Please, let's hope we get Hammer movies and we get some quality. Genuinely, they haven't got to be gothic. Do gothic ones, do modern ones. Hammer did modern ones. Again, that didn't work out so well. Dracula AD 1972 and Satanic Rites of Dracula and God, what's the other one? Oh God, with Richard Widmark. Oh God, To the Devil Adores Him. Another Dennis Wheatley fuck up that they did there, which was it's naff. No matter what version, even if you saw the full original version, it's still a naff movie regardless. Natasha Kinski, underage, and nudie nudes. No, it's crap. Lesbian vampires, it's been done to death. They don't need to do that sort of thing at all. Tell a good story. And have your iconic monsters, but tell them in it. Don't be massively elaborate with huge backstories and prologues and but it's the start of a franchise. Don't do that. Universal completely screwed themselves with their monsterverse bullshit with Tom Cruise in The Mummy, and it meant to spawn many other offshoots to rival Marvel, universe and the DC expanded cinematic universe, or whatever the fucking hell they call these things. It didn't work. Universal did that back in the day. Hammer did it back in the day. You've got to think cleverly. You've got to make one movie, and if it works and people love it, don't make it so that we're gonna usher in a franchise and a series here. Don't do that, because that's just it's actually genuinely lazy. Make one film, make it great, and you can do that. John, I'm appealing to you personally. Get your guys to make one film for each of these, and not with the idea of them being elevated and elongated into a big franchise. Have several films on the slate, which apparently you seem to have got. I mentioned a couple of them there. Get them rolling, get them made, get them out. Success? Well, okay, well, maybe we can go somewhere with this. Don't make films initially with the idea that they're going to go on and on and on and on. Blumhouse, that's what you fuckers do. Since your travesty with Halloween, you're now embracing The Exorcist. With a guy, David Gordon Green, who cannot direct horror movies to save his life. Zero suspense, zero tension, absolutely no shocks, no innovation, kills off any suspenseful scene completely with naff direction. I've said it a million times, and I will carry on saying it. I will see the Exorcist movie, Exorcist Believer, and then but they've already said it's going to be a trilogy. And you just know that, they're going to bring it. They've already, Ellen Burstyn's in as Chris McNeil, Reagan's mother from the original William Friedkin movie. And she's come in for it. And what is she, 95 or whatever she is? Oh, bring in OG legacy characters. They're fucking shite. I hate Blumhouse with an absolute vengeance for their stupid thievery and like just, oh, it's a cash grab. We'll make this and it'll bring in a new audience and we're going to make it massively woke as well. You know, but we're going to bring in Reagan. Linda Blair's going to come in at some point. Maybe at the end of the first movie when her mother dies. We're going to bring her in. Now it's vengeance against Pazuzu. You can see how they've mapped this out for 3 movies. Well, Halloween. We had no idea Halloween was going to make 3 movies. Just wanted to make one movie. But like, oh, it's a success. And then they lied. Oh, it was always meant to be a trilogy. Oh, fuck off. What are you, George Lucas? You know, piss off. And then he made the other 2 travesties. But because they made Moolah, Blumhouse, well, DGG, bring you back in, and you can make another great masterpiece of a horror movie. You can have that and do what you want with it. Fuck off. It's going to be a nightmare. It is. I haven't seen it yet. Could be great. It won't be. Trust me, it won't be. And but no, that's a trilogy. Oh Jesus! Just keep yourself in work, why don't you? What a sleazy shit way of handling artistic projects. Make one movie, beginning, middle, end. Tell your story. If it's a success, then do it. These are the bastards that want to do more The Thing. Not John W. Campbell's The Thing. There's another fella. Not another remake of that. They want to do a remake of John Carpenter's The Thing. Before COVID, this was the big thing at the time. The big thing about The Thing. Just before lockdown, I sat in a pub in Liverpool and discussed what they were going to do, what their plans were for The Thing reboot. So you're gonna get your grubby fucking fingers into every classic horror movie and just mangle it for modern audiences. Fuck off. I absolutely, David Gordon Green, I hate you. I absolutely, genuinely hate you. In my life, I have been through a lot. I've literally fought for my life, and I've encountered bastards, grade A bastards, and I've hated them. And then thought, well, they're only doing what they're going to do, because it's either me or them. And then I thought, well, I don't really hate you because you've got an ideology, you've got this, you've got that, and we're just opposing sides. I've got to do what I've got to do, you have to do what you have to do. That's the way it goes. So my hate for them has kind of gone. But my hate for David Gordon Green and Blumhouse, no, it's only accelerated. I know, they're only movies. I know, folks, I know. The thing is, don't mess with the classics. With Hammer and John Gore, got a feeling in my bones that he's not gonna mess with the classics. He can, with the theatrical background, that's what's actually selling me on this really hugely. Because of that theatricality, the show must go on. My trust in a loyal confederacy of people behind the sines, people in front of the camera or on the stage. He knows, and that's the Hammer ethos, the same people, bring them in. I've got a feeling he'll do that. I hope I'm right. And I hope it works. Whether you do the modern day or you do gothic, versions, I hope you do both. I hope Hammer lives forever. Hammer's come back before. Yeah, didn't really work, but Woman in Black is fabulous. And that really, and let me in, although Hammer lent their name to it and distributed it and I could have produced it, but it's not a Hammer movie at the same token. You could say the same about Woman in Black, but Hammer was massively behind that. So I really, truly hope that Hammer becomes something like it used to be in its heyday. A forthright, driving, working class movie making industry, a mecca of its own. Film in Britain, film in Europe, film whatever you want, but keep it small and build on little stones, little stepping stones. Build upon those until you've got that bridge. And don't make the mistake that happened in the 70s where Hammer clung to being its old gothic self and yet tried to be experimental with horror comedies, which this is to a degree, and push further boundaries. Hands of the Ripper, Dr. Jekyll's Sister Hyde, Frankenstein the Monster from Hell also went beyond what you thought you were going to see. I've got a feeling that's what's playing right now. No, it's not. Devil Rides Out. So a lot to play with. You've got such a huge, a very fertile, seedbed to to work from. I don't know how you could go wrong. So John Gore, your name says it all. John Ellis Gore, Gore, Kensington Gore. From now on, you will be known as John Kensington Gore. There you go, mate. I've rechristened you. David Gordon Green. Twat. I've rechristened you as well. Twat. And scores as well. James Bernard scores for the Hammer movies. You need to think of that as well. If you want to get Hammer get the old crew on board and bring in new people as well. Obviously you've got to mix and match. You've got to do certain things. But then you've got James Bernard's fabulous Dracula motif. You want that. You want something, a score which everyone recognises. Bring in some great composer if you can. Bring in someone like Christopher Young. Get Christopher Young in there. He can do great gothic, brooding scores and highly dynamic, darkly horrific action themes as well. Drag Me to Hell is a real case in point. Haunting and yet really adrenalized. So, there's so much to work with here. Oh, I've gone to town on this, haven't I? All this video was meant to be was like, hey, Hammer's been resurrected. It's come back from the grave. You watch. There'll be another video soon of me going, oh, it's all gone tits up again. And not in this video, but another video. Amicus, Milton Subotsky from the 60s and 70s, the Amicus portmanteau anthology movies and other horror movies. They've come back as well. Amicus, who was the Hammer rival. Hammer was tits and gore. Amicus was kind of a lot quainter, more twee, more light-hearted horrors. Not so much gory, and not so much of the old. But they were great, absolutely great. One of my favourite werewolf movies of all time, The Beast Must Die, a film which I want to remake. I've said this many, many times. That, Captain Kronos and The Beast Must Die are the two films I would love to be able to work with and bring something new and dynamic to it, and yet keep that original flavour. But Amicus apparently are back as well. So, wow, what a great time to be alive for us old timers. Hammer and Amicus are coming back. I'll do a video on Amicus as well. I've got to learn a lot more about how that's coming to be. But apparently it's coming to be. So But in the meantime, and I've been sitting in this chair for so long on this video that I've got hemorrhoids. Cheers, y'all. Oh God, and they're biting as well. Folks, I have been over Shabby Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, and it's ever like retrospective, hugely looking forward at the same time, in between time. Please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. And I am going to see you all later. So comment below and let me know. What Hammer movies do you want to see resurrected, remade? What could work in a modern setting? How could you reinterpret these movies? Don't talk about what, I want to see him do something about aliens. Well, you've done that with, Quatermass in the Pit. Things that we don't know that they're going to do, don't worry about that. But what the back catalogue, the classic, and there's so many of them to choose from. What would you want to see? What do you think can be reinterpreted? I can tell you right now, Hammer needs to do another werewolf movie in the Hammer style, albeit updated. One werewolf movie, Curse the Werewolf, and one TV show, The Children of the Full Moon. I've covered both extensively. But Hammer, come back with a werewolfy movie. So let me know below and what you think of their back catalogue. What could be redressed, and it could be a sequel to. You might even like Taste the Blood of Dracula. You might even like Rasputin the Mad Monk. You might even like I don't know, Paranoiac, The Damned. There's plenty. Demons of the Mind actually that really could be reworked. There's one for you right there. Demons of the Mind could be massively reworked and made infinitely better because it's not a great film. Hammer has got some misfires, of course, as every studio has, but it was a stalwart champion. It spearheaded the genre when it really needed it, because if Hammer hadn't come along, you would not have had the likes of George Romero, Toby Hooper, John Carpenter. You wouldn't have had them. You wouldn't have had them because the Universal and the movies that came out in the 50s and 60s, which inspired those filmmakers, would not have happened because they wouldn't have been inspired by the likes of Hammer in the first place. So you've got to put this in historical relevance and huge importance. I finished about half an hour ago, didn't I? Anyway, this is Rhapsody for Lucy, which is fantastic. Which is a Nick Rain variation or adaptation of something that James Bernard did for the original Dracula. Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. And it's so beautifully eloquent that James Bernard obviously came up with this and they did their interpretation of it, which you're hearing right now. It's not in the movie. Hammer, I salute you. We want great gothic, brooding, and yet exciting, imagination and verve. We want action, big crescendo-laden climaxes. Who doesn't? Full of action and a real sense of momentum. Great characters. We want like Bavarian and Transylvanian taverns. Imagine doing them now. You wouldn't have Michael Ripper behind the bar, I know. But you could find plenty of people that could do that sort of role and give it that flavour. Don't go into the realms of torture porn. Terrifier 1 and 2, love them both. I want to see more of Terrifier, but that's not for everyone, and that is not Hammer. Hammer should not go down that road. Keep it to what the parameters were. Just poke gently. But, you know, there's a lot of things I'm not saying right now. A lot of things where I don't want it to go. But, which is what the wife always says to me as well. But she always gives in. There's a lot of places where I don't want these films to go into for, you know, the modern audiences. But I understand that they've got to do that, I suppose. I don't want it. Just don't overblow it and don't make a big point about it. And don't reinvent characters. Don't reinvent things. You can bring other people in who are whatevers. You know, you can do that. That's totally fine. Kill them off. Swiftly. But anyway, Hammer's back. Oh, my hemorrhoids are not playing up right now. So folks, I have been watching Kilt-Man, please. In the meantime, it's ever chaotic and husky now wanting to go out in between time. Please keep it Celtic, keep it Celtic. I'm going to see you all. I know, I've done this twice now. John Gore. I'm here. I'm ready. And I can come up with some goods for you. Get in touch. If you know him, anyone knows him, you, anyone, tell him Kilt-Man is a Hammer stalwart, a Hammer champion. And he knows the pedigree, he knows everything. And he's a vibrant, crazy individual that could come to something which is whack.